Good morning, Math 1 students. I hope all is doing well. Today is April the 8th. I hope y'all are enjoying this nice overcast day that we're having today. And I hope you enjoy our music that I'm playing. This is music to help you study and concentrate and to help you with memory. So remember always, if you have any questions about anything that I go over, please feel free to email me math1jgcc@gmail.com. So let's get right into it. Okay, so we have went through our whole fractions review, and so we are starting on Unit 3 review. And so we're going to look at number 1 asks us, it says which pair is a fraction is equivalent. So we're going to work these problems out because we need to figure out which one is going to be equivalent. So let's start off with A. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put 2 over 5, and then we're going to multiply that by 2 over 5, and that is going to give us, we're just going to multiply it out, so 2 times 2 is 4, and 5 times 5 is 10. So right there, that is our equivalent, is A. Now, to say if A was not the equivalent, let's go ahead and work the other ones out, so that way we can understand exactly what this problem is asking. Okay, so B is asking us, so we'll do 1/3 times 1/3, and that is going to give us, 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 times 3 is 9, and that is going to give us 1/9 instead of 3/12, so we know that is not correct. Let's look at C. So C is 1/6 times 1/6. So we're going to say 1 times 1 is 1, and 6 times 6 is 36. So that is not equivalent. 1/6 and 3/12 are not equivalent. So let's look at D. So our problem on D is 3/4. So we're going to say 3/4 times 3/4 is going to give us 9 over 16. So that is not the same as 5/16. So number 1 we know is going to be A. Right there. Okay, so let's go to number 2. Alright, so let's look at number 2. So it says which fraction is not equivalent to 1/3? And remember the key word, not. So let's look at A. So A, we know just by looking at A, we know with 2 over 6, we know that that's going to divide into 2 easily, and that's going to be 1/3. So we know it is not A. We look at B. B is a little different of a problem. B is 3 over 10, and I'm just looking at B and I'm saying, no, that just does not look like it's going to be equivalent at all. But we know the only thing that's going to go into 3 and 10 is going to be 30. So when we divide 3 divided by 30 is going to go 10 times, and then 10 divided by 3 is going to go 3 times. And then we know we can always divide that. Let me move this over a little bit. Excuse me just a second. So we can divide 3 divided by 10. We'll go 3 times. And we know 3 times 3 is 9, and we subtract. And so we have 3 and 1/3. So we know just by there that 3/10 is our answer. But let's go ahead and work them out just to make sure that I did this correctly. So let's look at C. So we have 4 over 12. So we know that 4 and 12 will both divide into 4. So we know 4 will divide into 4 1 time, and 4 will divide into 12 3 times. So we know that's not it. And then let's look at D. D is 5 over 15. And we know that's both going to divide into 5. And that's going to give us 5 will divide into 5 one time, and then 5 will divide into 15 3 times. So we know that is not correct either. Okay, so let's go forward. Now let's look at number 3. So number 3 reads, of the vegetables Aaron planted, there are 5/12 were carrots, 3/12 were cucumbers, and the rest were tomatoes. What fraction of vegetables was tomatoes? Okay, so now we got to figure out what fraction of vegetables were tomatoes. So let's go ahead and do this. So let's look at, so we're going to say, we know we have 5/12, and then we have 3/12, so we're going to just add those. And these have the same common denominator. Let me fix this. This just looks a little. So we're just going to add. And so it's going to come up with 8/12. So how are we going to know what are the tomatoes? So what we're going to have to do is we're going to simply just subtract 12 minus 8. And that's going to give us, let's do this. So say 12 minus 8. And that's going to give us 4. So we're going to say 4/12. We subtract that. Fix that. So if we have 4/8, we know we can reduce that. And we know we can divide it by 4. And so let's divide this by 4, and let's go ahead and reduce it. And so we know if we divide 4 divided by 4 is going to go 1 time. 4 divided by 12 will be 3. And so that way we know we end up with 1/3. So our answer for number 3 is going to be C, and that is 1/3. Okay, so let's go on to number 4. Alright, so let's look at problem number 4. So it reads that James walked 7/10 of a mile along Broadway. He then walked 3/4 of a mile on Vine Street. How many miles did James walk? So we're going to look at this and we're going to say, okay, so we know with asking how many miles did James walk, we know we're going to add. So let's go ahead and add this. We're going to say 7/10, and then we're going to add this plus 3/4. Correct, adding some. So we know our denominators are not the same, so we need to find what we call a common denominator. So I'm going to go with the common denominator of 40. So I'm going to say 40 here and 40 here. So we know that 4 will divide into 40 10 times, and 10 times 3 is 30. And then we know 10 will divide into 40 4 times, and 4 times 7 is 28. So then we can just simply add. So we're going to say, we know 8, and so we're going to come up with 58/40. So we know our denominator is smaller than our numerator, so we know then we can just simply divide. So let's go ahead and divide 40 divided by 58, and we know that's going to go 1 time. 40, and we're going to subtract, and then so we're going to have 18. And so this is going to give us 1 and 18/40. Well, now we know we can reduce because we have the 18 and 40, and we know we can reduce this, and it can be reduced by 2. So let's reduce divide the 18 by 2. It's going to give us a 9. And then 2 will divide into 40 20 times. So that is going to be our answer, is 1 and 9 over 20 miles. Okay, so let's look at number 5. So number 5 reads, Nick lives 5/8 of a mile from the park. Eduardo lives 3/10 of a mile from the park. How much closer to the park does Eduardo live than Nick? So when they say how much closer to the park does Eduardo live than Nick, then we know we're going to subtract. So let's go ahead and subtract our problem. So we're going to subtract, in a different color, let's go 5 over 8, and we're going to subtract that minus 3/10. So we know we're going to have to come up with a common denominator. And so the common denominator that I come up with is going to be 40. Because I know 8 will divide into 40 and 10. So I'm going to say 40. Write this out. Okay, so I know that 8 will divide into 40 5 times, and 5 times 5 is 25. And I know 10 will divide into 40 4 times, so 4 times 3 equals 12. And so I'm just going to simply subtract 25 minus 12, and that's going to give us 13 over 40. So there we go. That is our B answer. So we know 13 over 40 miles is the difference between that Eduardo lives than Nick. Alright, so let's go to number 6. Alright, so number 6, our instructions is just plainly, let's just multiply. So we have 7 over 8 times 5 over 6. And so we're just going to simply multiply. So we know 7 times 5 is 35. And then we know 8 times 6 is 48. So we have 35 over 48. And there's our answer, B. Alright, so let's go to number 7. So number 7 reads, Chelsea had completed 2/3 of a 5-mile race when her shoe laces came untied. How many miles had Chelsea completed at this point? So number 7, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply. So we know that she has completed 5. So let's go up here. Let's look at number 7. So we're going to write it as 5 over 1. And we're going to multiply that times 2/3. So we know 5 times 2 is 10. And 3 times 1 is 3. So then we're going to just simply divide, because we know our denominator is smaller than our numerator. So let's divide this. I'm going to divide it over here. So we're going to say 3 divided by 10. We'll go 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, gives us a 1. So then we come up with our answer, 3 and 1/3. And so that is our answer, A. 3 and 1/3 mile. Alright, so let's keep on going. Let's go on to number 8. Alright, so number 8, again, it just simply says we're going to multiply. So let's look at how we can set up this problem to the way we know we can work it out. So we know we have 3 and 1/4 times 1 and 1/2. And so in the instructions it says to write the product as a improper fraction, enter your response in the grid. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to simply do this. We're going to say, we know we're going to multiply 4 times 3 first, and then we're going to add a 1. And that's going to be over 4. And that's going to be times 2 times 1. And then we're going to add a 1. And then we're going to put that over 2. So we're going to simply do this. So let's say 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is going to give us 13 over 4. And then we're going to say 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 more. and that's going to give us 3 over 2. Oh. Ooh, let's answer this problem. So then we're going to go 3 times 13 is going to give us 39 over 8. And so that is our problem. 39 over 8 is going to be our improper fraction. So let's go on to look at number 9. So number 9 reads, Brenda completed a puzzle in 4 1/2 minutes. It took her 3/5 as long to do the next puzzle. How many minutes did it take Brenda to complete the second puzzle? So we know our problem is going to be 4 1/2. This is going to be times 3 over 5. So there again, we're going to simply set this up. Say 2 times 4 plus 1. It's going to be over 2 times 3/5. So we're going to say 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1 more, and that's going to give us 9 over 2 times 3 over 5. So we simply multiply. Let me write this a little bit better. Let me rewrite this over here. Let's write this 9 over 2 times 3 over 5. So 9 times 3 is going to give us, what? So 9 times 3 is 27. So we're going to write 27. And then 2 times 5 is 10. So we're going to have 27 over 10. So then we know we're going to divide. So let's go ahead and divide 10 divided by 27. We know it's going to go 2 times. So 2 times 10 is 20. And we're going to have 7 left over. So then our problem is going to equal 2 and 7 over 10 minutes. So right here, our answer is going to be C. Alright, so let's go to number 10. Alright, so number 10 just asks us a simple question, which is another way to write 5 over 6. So we know it is not going to be A. We know it's going to be a division problem. So it's going to be D, because 5 over 6 is the same thing as writing 5 6. Alright, so let's look at number 11. It says, which of these expressions have a quotation of 1/6, and it says select all that apply. So we know when it says select all that applies, we know that there's going to be more than one answer. So let's take a few minutes. We're going to work all these out. I'm going to start working some of them out right here. I can just do this. All right, so we know we have 1/8, and it's going to be divided by 1/2. So there again, we're going to rewrite 1/8. And anytime we're dividing, we're just going to multiply it, and we're going to flip our numbers. And this is going to give us 1/16. So we know right there, A is going to be 1. So let's look at B. So let's put a 1 here. So there again, running out of space. Let me just write it out over here. Let's do B. 2 with 1 divided by 1/8. And so we're going to rewrite that as 2 over 1 times, let me fix that real quick, 8 over 1, and that's going to give us 16 over 1, which is going to give us 16. So we know it's not B. Alright, so let's look at C. So C is going to be 1/5 divided by 3 over 1. So let's look at this. So we can say, let's go ahead and flip it. So we're going to say 1/5 times 3 over 1, and that's going to give us 3 over 5. So we definitely know it is not C. Alright, so let's look at D. We'll write D over here. So D, we have 3 over 1, and the way we're going to rewrite this is we're just going to rewrite this and we're going to go ahead and flip it. So we have 3 over 1 divided by 5 over 1. So we know 3 times 5 is 15. It's going to give it over 1, and so we're going to have 15. So we know D is not it. Alright, so let's look at E. Go ahead and put a 1 over this. Let's work this out. So we'll say we have 4 over 1. We're going to multiply it times 4 over 1. And that's going to give us 16 over 1, which is going to be 16. So we definitely know it is not E. So let's look at F. Write F over here. I'm going to go ahead and write one-fourth, and we're going to multiply it. It's going to be flipped, and that's going to give us 1/4, and so that's going to give us 1/16. Alright, so we know it is F. So our answers are A and F. Okay, so let's go, moving right along, let's go to number 12. Okay, number 12. It says a stack of newspapers is 62 inches high. If the stack is split into 8 equal sized smaller stacks, what will the height of each smaller stack? So let's look at what we're going to do first. So simply what we're going to do is we're going to write out our problem. And our problem is going to read 62 divided by 8. And so when we rewrite this into a fraction, it's going to read 62 over 8. So we're going to simply work it this way. We're going to say 8 we'll divide into 62 7 times. So 7 times 8 is 56. And I'll subtract 6. And so that's where we're going to get our answer, 7 and 6 over 8. Well, we know that the 6 and 8 will reduce, and they will both reduce by 2. So we're going to go ahead and keep our whole number, and then we're going to say 2 divided by 6 will go 3 times, and then 2 will divide into 8 4 times. So there's our answer, 7 3/4, which is B. Okay, so let's look at number 13. And number 13 plainly says to divide. So we're going to divide 5 over 12 divided by 7 over 10. So all we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this. So we're going to say 5 over 12, and then we're going to multiply it, and we're going to say 10 over 7. So, now, there's different ways we can do this, and I think the easiest way to do this is, let's simplify it. So we know that the 10 and 12 will both reduce into 2. So 2 will divide into 10 5 times, and 2 will divide into 12 6 times. So that way we can just say 5 times 5 is 25. And then 6 times 7 is 42. And so there's our answer right here, B. 25 over 42. All right, we are almost here to the end. One more problem to go. So let's do number 14. All right, so number 14 reads, a piece of quilting fabric is 31.5 inches wide. It will be cut into strips that are each 2 1/4 inches wide. How many strips can be cut from the fabric? Okay, so let's work these problems out. So we know when we look at these to start off with, it's going to read 31 Excuse me, let me read about that. 31 and 1/2. We're going to divide that by 2 and 1/4. So we know what we're going to do is to get these into proper form is we're going to say 2 times 31 plus 1 over 2. That is by 2 times 4 plus 1. This is going to be over 4. Alright, so let's work these out. Okay, so we're going to say 2 times 31 is going to give us 62. So we're going to say 62 plus 1, and that's going to give us 63. So then we're going to have 63 over 2 from right here. And then we're going to say 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 more is 9. And so that's going to give us 9 over 4. Right here. Alright, so that we know when we're going to divide, we're going to just simply flip. So let's take our 63 over 2, and then we're going to multiply that by 4 over 9. And we know we can do some reducing. We know that 2 will divide into 4 by 2, so let's say, so that'll be 2 there. And then 2 will divide into 2 one time. And then we know that 9 is going to divide into 63, and it'll go 7 times, and 9 will divide into 9 one time. So then we're just going to simply multiply. So we'll say 7 times 2 is 14 over 1, and then that's going to give us our answer of 14, which is C. Alright, I hope y'all have enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it has been kind of a lengthy video, but I hope if you have any questions, remember you can always email me. Remember, if you have any questions about anything, remember to always give me you can message me on Facebook, or you can simply send me an email, math1jgcc@gmail.com. You know, this assignment will be posted for you to complete in the Google Classroom. Don't forget the Google code is 2MK74E3. I also have you some assignments assigned in iExcel.com. Username is going to be your first name, which my first name, of course, is Jessica, so mine is Jessica1 at JobCorps, and the password is going to be Joyful1. If you'd like to get into Tabe Academy, your username, again, is going to be your first name, 1, which mine is Jessica1, and my password is Happy1. If you have any trouble with anything, remember, easiest way to get in touch with me is you can always email me, math1jgcc@gmail.com, or you can just send me a quick instant message from Instant Messenger on Facebook. I hope y'all are being safe. I really miss y'all. I hope you are being safe on this nice Wednesday. Y'all have a great day, and I will talk to y'all later.